Hello everybody, welcome to Tarot and the Star. I'm your host, Melody. Today I'm going to be conducting a ghost box reading on Shanann Watts. There's been a lot of attention about Shanann Watts and or her husband at that time, Chris Watts, that had killed her in 2018. And there's been a lot of talk about that I've been noticing, and I decided to go ahead and do just a check-in with Shanann Watts and try to have an understanding if she even knew that her husband, Chris Watts, was planning on murdering her the time frame that he did. This case has gotten a lot of media attention. Chris Watts had murdered his wife in 2018. It was in the early hours, he claims, and it was strangulation. And then he took the body of the wife that was deceased and put it in the vehicle, his vehicle, and took his two children, their children, with him, and did the unthinkable to the children once he gotten to his destination, which was he worked at as a I forget his job title, but he worked with crude oil, and so he went to a job site that had two huge crude oil containers, and he buried his wife's body on the ground while he disposed of his two little small children in each oil container. And later he confessed to this crime, and they had a very difficult time of getting the children out of the oil containers. I mean, this is a while later, he's finally confessed, and then, the bodies have gone in a state of decomposition that creates a problem when trying to obtain the body, because with crude oil going into the body, it changes the tissue of the body. Now, the tissue with the decomposition and the crude oil combined creates a situation where, pieces will just start falling off as you start to obtain the body. So it was very painstaking for them to, get these children out of these crude oil bins. And of course, they were deceased, and there was not a natural burial for them, because this crude oil was highly flammable. So, they had to be buried in specific, special coffins, and there's no viewing of the body, obviously. So the grandparents of both Shanann, his wife that is deceased, as well as his parents, do not have a final closure of the children, nor Shanann. And Shanann was pregnant at the time with her third child when he had murdered her. And the details of that are quite disturbing as well, because, apparently the child, the unborn fetus, was coming out of her a little bit when they found the remains of Shanann. And she was buried in the ground. She wasn't even, put with her children. So, it's just a horrific situation, because here you have a woman that really deeply cared about her children, and she was a good mother, and it didn't really matter what was going on in this guy's mind, if he, because he apparently did this because he had a mistress named Nicole. And so he did this to be with his mistress. But, he was saying his wife was kind of overbearing and things like that. But regardless of that, I mean, nobody deserves to get murdered. He could have simply got a divorce. He could have done the correct thing, and especially with his children involved, and no sense of empathy or sadness towards his children or his wife that he had just killed. In one situation, I read that one of the children, before she was being murdered by her father, mentioned, "Are you going to do that to me too? Please don't," that kind of thing. Okay, that's very heartbreaking. Okay, because these children were only 3 and 4 years old, or about 3 and 4 years old, something like that. So let's get into it. I don't want to ramble about this case too long, but I wanted to kind of give you the backstory here and find out how Shanann is doing, because that's really what I'm concerned about. How is Shanann doing? How are the children doing? Okay, that is my concern. Looking at all of these reports on this has bothered me to wonder how she is doing in heaven, and how, if her and the children are reunited. And that's really what I care about. I care about what's going on with Shanann. So we're going to get into it. Spirit guides of Shanann Watts, that was murdered on August 13th, 2018 in Frederick, Colorado, by her husband, Christopher Watts. Can you bring Shanann forward, or bring her spirit guides forward, please, to talk a little bit with us about what had occurred with Christopher Watts and the situation in which she was murdered? Shanann Watts, you were murdered on August 13, 2018 from Frederick, Colorado. Shanann, let me just say, I am so sorry that this happened to you. Did you know, Shanann, that Chris had also murdered the children after he had murdered you? Shanann Watts, were you reunited with your children, Bella and Celeste and Nico, in heaven?
Emergency. For free. Here's one. Privacy. Here.
Shanann Watts, there is an outpouring of people that love you and they support you. Your YouTube following has really risen to proportions, because people really feel about your situation, about your story here, and they feel sad for you. They feel sad that you have passed away. They feel sad that the children have passed away. Do you have any messages for these people that feel sad for you, that have been watching your story from the beginning? Or do you have any messages towards your husband, Chris Watts? Shanann Watts, did you know that Chris, your husband, was having an affair with a woman named Nicole? Shanann Watts, I want to personally say to you, I saw some of your videos, and I think that you were a terrific mother to your children, Celeste and Bella. And I think that you were a great wife to Chris. And I think you were a wonderful salesperson for Thrive. I saw some of your sales for Thrive. I saw how you were demonstrating the product, how you were talking about the product and giving out samples. And I just want to tell you that I am proud of you, and I think that you did the best that you could.
Who helps that? This a he would help decade.
Shanann Watts, are you with Bella and Celeste and Nico in heaven now? Are your children with you in heaven now?
My program.
Shanann Watts, what do you think about your husband, Christopher Watts, now? He's in prison for life with no parole.
They need him. Indeed.
Shanann Watts, I think you are a beautiful person, Shanann. You didn't deserve what had happened to you. And it's painful to watch your YouTube videos and think that you're no longer here living, but I do know that you're in spirits and you are with God now. And Bella and Celeste are also with God now. And I'm hoping that you have reunited with the children in heaven. I'm sorry that this had happened. Chris does not feel guilt about what he had done to you. He felt as though you were a burden in some sense to him, and that you were controlling too much of him, is how he describes it. And he mentions it like as if he couldn't be himself around you. And I'm really sorry about that. I'm sorry about what happened to you. And people will continue to watch your story and continue to mourn for you and feel for you. And I want you to know that.
Waiting your advice.
We are going to say goodbye to you, Shanann Watts. Do you have any last minute messages for your family or friends that still love you and hold on to your memory?
Really simple. Take your money and
We are saying goodbye to you, Shanann Watts. Thank you for coming through on the Ghost Box session today so we could ask you a few questions about this and tell you that we care about you. Thank you for coming through. And we're saying goodbye and closing the session with you. Goodbye, and we are closing the session. And to spirit guides of Shanann Watts, thank you for coming through and answering questions for Shanann Watts. We are closing the session with you. Goodbye, and we are closing the session. Goodbye now. And for anybody else that came through to answer questions or comment on Shanann Watts, we are closing the session with you. Goodbye, and thank you, and goodbye. We're closing the session. And for those of you still watching Tarot and the Star, this case is a case that just bothers you because this young woman, all she wanted was a perfect family life, right? All she wanted was a perfect dream, you know, to have her children, to have a successful career, to have the person that she's married to be in love with her and be committed and stand by her side. And instead, she had to fight through a lot, because what I see with Shanann, what I pick up on with Shanann is I pick up on somebody that it's like she has incredible willpower to want to succeed. But I see somebody that also had within her, her confidence waned. It's like, you know, there's times that I see that, you know, outwardly she shows this tremendous self-confidence. But inwardly, she was questioning a lot of herself. And I do see that. I pick that up with her. I pick up somebody that would have done anything for others. I pick that up, a good-natured person. I pick up on her. And I pick up that she was really outside of Chris Watts' league. She was outside of his league. She was too good for Chris Watts. Chris Watts was a meek, shy person that had no self-confidence at all. And Shanann is somebody that built a lot of her self-confidence on her own. She did a lot. She purchased her own house at 25, but beyond that, she was confident in what she was trying to do, but then her confidence would also wane to wonder if she's doing the right things in life, you know. So she was somebody that she met the wrong person, and she thought that, you know, he was going to stand by her and that she can help him in some sense to be a confident man, to be strong, because I don't really see that she saw that really in him like that. She loved him because she was somebody that was motherly, that would, you know, take somebody under her wing and love them and show them, you know, the correct way of doing things, and trying to make them a better person, which is wonderful. That's wonderful from her. But he is somebody that he was he was not well in the mind. He was somebody that needed he needed somebody to build his self-confidence. And it gave him an ego boost when he was able to marry Shanann, because she was outside of his league. And then he got comfortable with the situation, you know, they had kids and everything. And then this new mistress made him feel that old feeling he felt. But now the new mistress is letting him kind of control the show more, in which Shanann was trying to help him become a better person. The new mistress is just going along with whatever he's saying or doing or wanting to do. He wasn't going to be a better person with the new mistress. He wasn't going to be more developed with the new mistress. And he would not have amounted much with the new mistress. It would have just been, for him, casual living. He didn't care about living in a nice house or having money and, you know, thriving in that way. He just, you know, for him, he was somebody that would just live a simple life, but he couldn't be with one person. This kind of individual has to always replace people every so many years. That's what I get from him. And I think Shanann, she didn't see that, because it's kind of like she was trying to see past that. You know, she was trying to work with this guy and trying to help build him into this better, you know, version of himself. And she thought that they were going to do it as a team. And that's the energy I pick up from her. And that's not what happened. Instead, he ended up resenting her and feeling as though she's controlling everything. But he didn't see that Shanann was really trying to help him be a better version of himself. And I think that's what people didn't see sometimes about her. They're thinking she's trying to control or dominate, but it's really, she's trying to help the person become a better version of himself. She cared enough to try to help the person out. If you ever watch her videos, you'll notice that she tries to help her friends out. She gives them free samples of things. She says that she'll meet up with them and talk with them. I mean, all of these videos that she's done, it points to the incredible individual that she was. And she was in a really shitty situation with this guy. Really shitty situation. And I think she could have done better. I think, it just escalated the way it did because he didn't want to lose everything. And so he thought by getting rid of them, he can carry on his life with his new mistress and start over again. But he would have got tired of the new mistress too. And he would have ended up leaving the new mistress for another mistress, because he was an individual that was not necessarily ever happy with his situation in life. He wanted not necessarily more money or more riches, but he wanted a different lifestyle all the time because of boredom. So that is where we stand with this situation on Shanann Watts and what happened. I wish her the utmost peace in heaven, as well as the children, Bella and Celeste. They should have never had to go through such a horrible death that their father had put on them. And neither Nico as well, the unborn child that would have been her first son. He should be ashamed of himself, but I don't pick that up from him. I pick up somebody that tries to lay blame on others. He has not come to the conclusion yet as to what he really has done. It has not sinked in yet. He knows of guilt of what he has done, but it has not sinked in what they meant to him. That has not, and it may not. It may not, or if it does, it may take several years for that to sink in. Because Chris Watts is very narrow-minded about himself and what's better suited him. And that's very sad, because he lost a beautiful family to his ego, his pride, his selfishness of what he wants versus having such a beautiful family. What a pity, you know. He should have chose the beautiful family. That's horrible. It's horrible, horrible. And I will leave it there, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me with Tarot and the Star. If you liked this video, do click on the like button. Share these with others that may want to know more about this. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. I put different videos out all the time. I appreciate every single one of you. And nobody should be tossed away. That's awful. That's my conclusion to this. And I appreciate every single one of you. You all are unique. Always remember that. Thank you and bye.